Welcome back to Aguilar All Access, and today we'll be discussing gun buyback programs. But before we get into that, we have a quick correction from one of our previous videos.
You have a quick correction.
Okay, I was wrong. It was a very impromptu video. We didn't do some research. Normally before these videos, we do some.
We pulled up an article or just Twitter and just kind of rolled off there. So
yeah, we were angry and we wanted to discuss. I think it clearly came across. I mean, some of my friends who watched the video were like maybe a little too mad, but I think it was an honest video, and I want to be honest with my opinions on things. I'm not going to mask it. That made me mad. That was ridiculous, and that shouldn't have happened. But I did say something incorrect. I said in the video that, to my knowledge, that Ben Shapiro in his video on the when Beto O'Rourke was talking about gun buyback programs, the tweets were all about how people said that Ben would shoot Beto O'Rourke, and I incorrectly stated that he never mentioned Beto and shooting in the same sentence, where the actual quote, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it exactly in front of me, but it was, Beto O'Rourke will not raise my children, and if he tries, I will meet him at the door with the gun.
So which is a very what if scenario. It just
yeah, because if Beto were president, he wouldn't be the one doing it himself. It was more metaphorical than anything, but I was incorrect, and I don't want to put out false information.
Don't want to put out fake news.
Yeah, to all 5 people that watch it. All 5 of my friends. Okay, but into the topic, gun buyback programs. So the idea a lot that's been pushed around a lot lately, and for as long as I can think, that the solution to gun violence and gun crimes is a gun buyback program. So what this means, if it's a mandatory gun buyback program, because there's a very big difference between gun buyback programs and mandatory gun buyback programs.
One's optional.
Yeah, and some states have done gun buyback programs that were completely optional, and they've, people will turn in a gun that they don't use anymore, and they get cash for it. Win-win.
Didn't really solve anything. I feel like that's another video.
Right, whether or not those actually work.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, but anyway, continue.
We're not going to be discussing the legitimacy of them, like if they'd work. That's not really important to this topic. But so what a mandatory gun buyback is, if the government, similar in Australia, did a mandatory gun buyback program, what this entails is that everybody with a gun will now has a certain date to return that gun, quote, the air quotes, very heavy there, return that gun to the government, and they will be given money for it, so compensation. Now, as stated previously, a non-mandatory gun buyback program is just that, non-mandatory. You're allowed to keep your guns, and then they give you money for that gun. The idea is to get less guns on the street or whatever.
Yeah.
But the issue arises when it's mandatory. I don't think anybody has issues with the state just deciding, hey, we're going to do a gun buyback program. If you want to get rid of your gun, here's a chance.
Optional is the key word there.
Yeah, I don't know any Republicans or Libertarians that are opposed to optional gun buyback programs. Because, that'd be asinine. That goes completely against what being a Republican and Libertarian is about. Freedom of choice. The government can't compel you to do things.
Yes.
Obviously, there's some limitations to that, but we're not going to...
There's exceptions to every rule.
And again, different topic. But the issues of mandatory gun buyback programs is it has one premise that's innately flawed. That you are returning the gun to the government. The government doesn't give you guns. The government isn't in the business of selling firearms. I don't go to an FFL dealer, federally licensed firearm dealer, and buy a gun from them. And they're not an arm of the government. They're not a wing of the government. They have no business.
They're an independent business.
Yeah, they have no business telling an independent transaction that you can and can't do that. It's like, oh, I'm going to sell back my TV to the government. The government didn't give you that TV.
Yeah, it's such a misnomer, and it never occurred to me until relatively recently that, wait a second, the government never gave the people their guns. They didn't even give them the right.
Yeah, so that's another key detail, is that it operates under the assumption that the government gives you the rights
so that they can take them away.
Yeah, which
isn't scary at all.
No, I mean, the terrifying thing is I've seen a lot more people make that distinction.
Yeah.
Like that the government gives you the rights. Whether or not you believe in God,
or a higher power.
Or a higher power at all. That's irrelevant. The United States system was built that these rights are inalienable and in the terms of the Constitution, endowed by a creator, given to you by your creator, whether that creator is science or the Big Bang or anything like that, whether or not what you think that creator
flying
is,
spaghetti monster,
what that creator is irrelevant. The government doesn't give you your rights; they protect your rights. That's just a massive distinction that is terrifying, that not everyone is willing to make. They think that they can give the power over to people like Beto O'Rourke, Mr. Robert O'Rourke, and they can suddenly solve all problems by lessening their rights. And a gun buyback program is a gun confiscation. People like to say, "Oh, we're not here to take your guns." Beto O'Rourke said the quiet part out loud. He said
that many on the left won't say out loud. They'll kind of dance around the issue. He said it. Got to give him credit. He's got some balls for that. I'll give him credit for that.
Right.
He's very honest.
His exact
part of the reason why people like Trump is that he's honest in his own Trumpy kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, he's a jerk, and I don't like most of what he says, but he's honest at least, and that's so scary that people would rather have an honest kind of jerk in like someone like Trump than somebody. I mean, like Hillary Clinton, which
pretends to be all nice.
Yeah, pretends to not be anything corrupt or evil, and just is probably
pretends that she didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, probably Clinton's one of the most corrupt people in government as of in modern American history.
Yeah.
And Trump may have done some shady things, but I mean, at least he's honest that he's a jerk. And I think that's why people, kind of gravitate towards people like Bernie Sanders and Beto O'Rourke, even though his poll numbers weren't great while he was still in the race.
Even though the media would have you believe otherwise.
Right. He was honest. He said the quiet part out loud. His exact quote was, "Hell yeah, we're going to take your AR-15," which shows he knows nothing about an AR-15. I mean,
he just hears the word and it's ooh, must be scary.
Right? I mean, I'm writing a paper for my class currently about guns and mass shootings particularly, and then I had to have somebody review it, and in that class, and I did this entire thing on why gun control is bad and why I don't think it would work. It's a solution. And all he took out of it was AR-15 is bad. And that doesn't just show you the inherent bias in people just read what they want out of things. It's scary. People will look at Beto O'Rourke, say AR-15 is bad. Cool. We need to confiscate your guns. Well, no. We're not confiscating your guns. We're buying them back from you.
Oh, so it's optional?
No. You have to do it. What made you think it was optional?
If someone jacks my car and then throws me $1,000, that's still theft.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like if they stole it and then threw the $1,000 out the window while they're driving away. It's like what? It's like, okay, I'm glad I'm not broke, but I needed that car.
Right, and you don't inherently need a gun to function in society. But a right to self-preservation is one that the government doesn't have a right to take away. You have a right to protect yourself. And people like Beto O'Rourke are coming for that right. And at least he's being honest about it. The other Democrats on stage, thankfully...
Like to beat around the bush.
Thankfully have said, no, we're not going to do a mandatory gun buyback. Which I believe most of them. There are some that I don't believe.
I'm sure he's the only one that was super into it. But you can tell they kind of maybe want to ban AR-15s.
Which makes no sense. I mean, Joe Biden was a big proponent of the ban in 1994 of certain guns.
Yeah.
Even though it literally did nothing, people will always say crime rate went down after it. Crime rate was already on a steady decline.
Correlation, not causation.
It's so funny, but I don't think any other current Democrat would ban your AR-15.
No. Not yet, at least.
That's the key factor. Beto O'Rourke is starting. He's starting the honesty. Who knows? Come 2024, if a Democrat wins and they're up for re-election, it won't happen. But the second it's a new Democrat on the field, and if they lose to Trump in 2020, what are they going to do? Just going to go further left. And it may or may not work, and that's the scary part.
Yeah.
But as for now, it's not working.
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke, I mean, we said it earlier, but we didn't focus on it. Beto O'Rourke, as of a couple days ago, as of we're recording this, dropped out of the presidency. He had no support, thankfully. I mean,
yeah.
He has no qualifications for presidency, first off. The media paraded him around when he was against Ted Cruz because he could take down Ted Cruz. But
he almost did, didn't he?
It was closer. It wasn't like supremely. It wasn't margin of error close, but it was closer than anybody would have liked.
Interesting.
But that's because the media propped him up. The person who got drunk and hit somebody in their car and ran. He did so much career-ending garbage that
if anyone even remotely right of center had done.
Yeah,
they'd make 1,000 SNL skits out of it.
Or even a Democrat that isn't up and coming or isn't
like
a
Tulsi
threat.
Gabbard.
Yeah, a Democrat that isn't a threat.
Yeah,
to
if
the
Tulsi Gabbard had
Republicans.
done something like this, she would also be
destroyed,
crucified.
Yeah, but if they're up and coming and maybe a potential challenger to a Republican, you will bury anything. Because the media, when he was running against Ted Cruz, were all up about Beto O'Rourke. But the second he announced his presidency, he went to like 20%. He did amazing. And then like a week later, the media gave up on him. Like, oh, who is Beto O'Rourke? Who does he think
just
he
double
is?
Down.
Right, because they want Warren. The second there are other options, people like Beto O'Rourke people like Beto O'Rourke don't matter. Elizabeth Warren is the new darling of the media. So she's the one getting all the push. Which is one of the reasons I think she's going to be the nominee. I think Ben Shapiro talks about this, and I think he's completely on the money. The media are doing a very good job of choosing who the nominee is going to be.
Yeah, but they don't have any influence at all.
Right. If they suddenly pushed Andrew Yang, I think he would jump to double digits.
Maybe.
He's barely in the race now. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. He seems like the only person up there.
He's the only Democrat I'd vote for, him and Tulsi.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would still vote for...
I'll be honest.
any Democrat up there, I wouldn't vote for over Trump. But the one I'd feel... if I had to vote for one of them, I'd pick Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, like, Andrew Yang's freedom dividend, I don't think would work. I think we'll probably do a video on that eventually, but
at least he's willing to have conversations about it and try and justify his point instead of just yelling, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, hate the poor.
Right? I also appreciate the fact that people like him are running on issues such as benefiting people, not taking away more rights. Like, we're going to take away Medicare for all, but we're going to take away private insurance. We're going to take away your right to choose your own insurance. But we're going to provide you the government one, so, we can control it.
Yeah. Christ.
So, people like Andrew Yang are at least a little honest. And people like Beto O'Rourke
try to have
were
a conversation.
And this is kind of a tell-all. People like Beto O'Rourke, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, they're all honest people. And yet they're losing in the Democrat side. The liars are winning in the Democrat side. And yet
the exaggerators. Let's give them a little bit of credit.
No, Elizabeth Warren's a flat-out liar.
Oh, yeah. Like with her recent Medicare for, what was this thing about taxing?
She said she wouldn't raise the taxes on the middle class at all, which is patently insane.
How do you plan on paying for it?
And she actually just released her proposal for it,
a
couple days ago, and it makes no sense. Even people in the Washington, there was a column in the Washington Post saying that it makes no sense.
Ooh, man, when your own cheerleaders turn on you for a bit, things are not going great. But yeah, Beto dropped out. That's you know what's funny? That was a Freudian slip. I meant to say Beto. Beto dropped out,
and it just shows that people in the Democrats don't want honesty. Don't want the crazy honest. People on the Republican side want the crazy honest.
Which is why we're willing to put up with Trump.
Right? I mean, I liked Ted Cruz. I think he would be a better president than Trump.
Probably.
But I don't know if he would be able to stand up to what Trump is.
Yeah.
And I think no matter what right now, I don't really love Trump, but I think we need an honest man in the White House, and I prefer knowing it's choosing the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And right now,
Trump is the devil we know.
Trump is the devil we know. He's an honest man, and people like Beto O'Rourke are the only honest people, and they're gone. And so who knows what's coming from the Democratic field.